What's the power of a college degree? We've put so much value on it over the past half a century. College grads use it to express their credibility. Employers see it as a rite of passage that signals skill and accomplishment. Yet today, recent graduates in America face record high unemployment. They carry $1 trillion in debt. That degree no longer guarantees middle-class success, and employers question whether they're getting the quality they need. Suddenly, there are new ways to learn, from free online courses to immersive classroom technology to startups that teach you just the skills you need. How do we need to learn in this new age? What are we willing to pay for? And what are the essential skills of a 21st century workforce, especially here in the Pacific Northwest? We'll explore these questions and more with 4 creative leaders who are hacking EDU. I'm Hanson Hossain. Welcome to 4 Peaks, live from HuskyFest at the University of Washington. You no longer need a PhD to make an incredible scientific breakthrough. At least that's what the Huffington Post declared when describing an online game site where users could decode complex proteins for fun. In 10 days, these gamers solved a 15-year-old AIDS problem. Few of them knew anything about biochemistry. The Tetris-like game is called Flottten, and despite that catchy headline, a faculty member with a PhD at the University of Washington created it. Zoran Popovic is the director of the Center for Game Science at the University of Washington. Zoran, you brought an innovative approach to your research as an academic. What else do you think we should be doing to take that ethic, that philosophy, to transform higher education?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to think about how to incentivize the whole idea of education. So, when we are born, we first learn because we're just curious and we want to discover things. Somewhere along the way, some of that stuff gets lost. And so some of the things that I've been trying to do is think about the incentive structure as an instrumental part of the education. And specifically, how can we use incentive structure or ways to make things fun such that we can have people that didn't even know that had fantastic skills of scientific discovery to actually push the scientific discoveries into whole new directions as a result of simply playing something that they really enjoy.
Does that mean your classes are all fun and games then?
I don't know if my classes are, but I certainly think that the games that we produce are.
Because you've actually gone as far as saying it's not homework, it's home play.
Yeah, so that's one of the models that we're working on, is basically how can you have the assessment or practice be not just embedded into these really boring tasks, but actually something that has a purpose and that you didn't even notice you were doing just because you actually wanted to do it.
And so when it comes to incentivizing students, is it just here at the university that you're working on that?
No, actually, I mean, the folded game is played by people all over the world, about 500,000 people. The educational games for early math are now played in many school districts around the country and internationally.
Let's take a quick look at that video to explain what your games in math and science have been about.
Refraction is a game that provides over 4 hours of material for conceptual understanding of fractions. It has won 2 prestigious international awards in the last 2 years.
It's about cute creatures stranded in space. If you can provide the right fraction of laser fuel to each spaceship, the cute creatures will be rescued. You may need to split the lasers several times or recombine them in creative ways.
The game gives a great amount of control to the teacher. For example, a teacher can create home plays, as opposed to homework, by simply typing in several fractional expressions and posting a message.
While students are playing, the teacher portal shows key concepts, depicted here as example expressions, for all students in a mastery matrix. The portal can also automatically point to key findings, like students that have full mastery of concepts or concepts that seem to be uniformly problematic to most students. No grading necessary.
The teacher can click on the concept and see a list of example challenges that could serve as good anchors for class discussion. The teacher can zoom into each box to see the number of times each student is exposed to each concept, and even look deeper into the exact playback of that level that shows the mathematical reasoning progression.
So that's quite amazing, getting kids to really engage in tough subjects like science and math. Now, grumpy people like me will say, well, what happened to, why do we have to have kids play games to do this? Shouldn't they be engaged in this material regardless?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, yeah, ultimately they will. In fact, that's the whole objective of a lot of things that we're doing, is that initially they can have badges or all these sort of short-term incentives, but really ultimately they should think, math is actually cool, or I self-identify with mathematics, and I think that I want to pursue that because it's something that's interesting to me. And that's actually the ultimate incentive, that once you get students to that place, it actually doesn't matter, you're done, because all the stuff happens naturally afterwards.
So how successful has this been so far?
This particular thing is in early trials. I can tell you that a huge number of school districts are really excited about actually trying this, because fractions is one of the biggest bottlenecks in early math education. And what we're basically saying is that over a period of time, we could potentially eradicate this as a big issue simply through allowing every child to play multiple games like this, and just realizing these misconceptions can be just completely removed.
Speaking of games, you've done remarkable things with your Flottent gaming platform. What was the concept behind that as a tool for research?
Yeah, so the idea there was that there's this big problem about figuring out how proteins fold. It turns out proteins are the secret to life. They do everything in nature. And then the question is, if anybody who knew how every protein was folded, they would know how to regenerate tissue, how to attack any disease, etc. This problem is very important, but all the computers in the world and all the scientists in the world cannot currently predict accurately these structures. So what we did is said, okay, let's take this problem that maybe there are 1,000 scientists in the world working on today, and let's expose it to hundreds of thousands of people and see if we can actually break new ground in scientific research.
That's amazing. Do we have that video that we can show?
Welcome to Fold It. Here we are in competition puzzle 50, strep binding. This protein is from a bacteria that causes strep throat. I'm Kathleen, and it looks like I'm currently rank 84, which means I have a long way to go to get to the top. I'm competing against all these other players to fold this protein the best and get the highest score I possibly can. Now let's take a look at the protein. Note that I can rotate, translate, and zoom the camera. This thick strand that bends all around is called the backbone. Notice it's made up of helices, which are these curly spirals, and these flat sheets. When the flat sheets get close, they form hydrogen bonds. I'll talk more about hydrogen bonds later. These dangly things coming off of the backbone are called side chains. They can move into a discrete number of positions based on their molecular structure, so don't be surprised when they don't move exactly where you want them to. Now let's take a look at our tools. We were just talking about side chains, so let's look at this Shake Side Chains tool. What it does is fixes all of the side chains at once, basically finds a good configuration for all of them, such that these clashes are resolved. The main tool that we use is called the pull tool. This works by clicking and dragging on the backbone or on the side chains.
So there's a larger implication here that people can engage in complicated science without actually having a background in it. What does that mean?
Yeah, in fact, the top 20 players in our game have had one chemistry class in college or less. Some obviously didn't even have that. And once we realized that, we knew that we were onto something really, really exciting. Because these are not, so obviously we didn't just have a whole bunch of biochemists play this game. In fact, the biochemists early on started quitting the game en masse because they realized that regular people were beating the crap out of them at this game. And that was actually exciting, because now you see this siloed community that is very good. They spend their lifetime on this, and now we have expanded this by maybe a factor of 4 or 5, which is why we were able to create 3 or 4 new discoveries published in Nature.
Well, we'll take this matter of science and math up a little further in our next segment. Our next guest will explain the huge discrepancy between our region's innovation economy and the lack of qualified graduates to drive it. We'll be right back.